I used to think dogs were just pets. You'd feed them, you'd walk them, they'd wag their tails, and that's the whole story. That's what I believed for most of my adult life, till the day my dog saved me from myself. Not from a burning building, not from an intruder, but from something far quieter, something far deadlier.
It was a Tuesday.
I remember that detail because Tuesdays were the days I dreaded the most. Monday carried the weight of expectation, sure. But Tuesday was a cruel trick. The week still stretched long ahead, and whatever motivation you had yesterday had already started to fade. It was the kind of day where silence felt loud, and my apartment was full of it. I hadn't spoken to anyone in 3 days. Not because no one called, though they didn't, but because I didn't want to. I didn't care. My phone buzzed once. Calendar reminder. Therapy, 3 p.m. Stared at it and let the screen fade to black. That was the third session I missed. So I was curled up in bed, wearing a hoodie I hadn't washed in maybe 2 weeks. The blinds were down. The air smelled like unwashed laundry and something metallic I couldn't quite place. I hadn't eaten, not properly, just a few crackers and maybe half a glass of water since yesterday. That's when I felt it. Not a sound, not a bark, just presence. Leo had walked into the room again, my dog, not even 2 years old. A rescue mix from a shelter outside town. Medium-sized, wiry fur, and eyes that always looked like they knew too much. Like he saw through you and didn't judge you for it. He walked in silently and sat down at the edge of the bed. Just sat there, watching me. I turned my face away. I didn't want his pity, but he didn't move, didn't blink. He just stayed there, not whining, not pawing, just watching me like he was anchoring me to this world with his eyes. And then something weird happened. I started to cry, quietly at first. Then it all just fell out. There's a thing dogs do when they see us cry. It's not just coincidence. Studies, real ones, have shown that dogs can recognize human emotions, especially sadness. They pick up on facial expressions, vocal tones, and even body language. They know when you're not okay. More than that, they care. Leo stood up, slowly climbed onto the bed, and gently pressed his body against mine. Not in an overexcited pet-me-now kind of way. No, this was different. He rested his chin on my chest and didn't move. I felt his heartbeat through his ribcage, slow, steady. Unlike mine, he exhaled deeply. And somehow, so did I. For the first time in 3 days, I took a full breath. Let me pause here, just for a second. If you were rewatching this and you've ever had a dog that just knew when you were off, when your world was crumbling and you didn't say a word, I'd love for you to comment below. Tell me what breed you have. Tell me where you're from. Because I truly believe that there's something otherworldly about how dogs tune into us. And if you're new here and like stories like this, hit subscribe. We go deep around here. Now back to Leo. Back to that room. I didn't say anything to him. It's not right away, but I reached out and touched his ear. It was warm. And that simple contact me to him was like a switch had been flipped in my chest. I wasn't alone in that moment. I wasn't invisible. And the terrifying thing is, that had started to matter again. One moment with Leo. It interrupted the spiral. You know what I'm talking about if you've ever been there. That dark downward momentum, where one sad thought pulls the next, until the weight gets so heavy you just want to lie down and disappear. But he pulled me out of that flow. Not with words, not with advice, but with stillness.
Owls.
Dogs do this thing called emotional mirroring. When we're calm, they're calm. When we're anxious, they become alert. And when we're devastated, they become still. They try to neutralize our chaos by becoming the opposite. Leo became my stillness, and I don't think it was random. I think he knew. I think he sensed something deeper than sadness, something darker, because he didn't just comfort me. He stayed close to me for hours after. Every time I moved, he followed. When I sat on the couch, he was there. When I stood up to walk to the bathroom, he followed. Quiet, present, patient. That night, for the first time in what felt like months, I actually turned on a light, and when I opened the fridge and took out a sandwich I'd forgotten I had, Leo wagged his tail. Just once, like he knew. Like he was saying, "That's it, that's the start." It was right. The next morning, Leo stood by the door with his leash in his mouth. I had seen him do that before, usually around 8 a.m. when he was desperate for a walk, but this time, he didn't bark. He didn't pace, he just stood there, leash dangling from his mouth, his eyes locked on mine. Calm, waiting. It was like he knew I wasn't ready to be told what to do. He was offering, not demanding. I stayed on the couch, curled up with a hoodie that still smelled like 3 days ago. But he didn't move. Not an inch. Not until I made the first move. And when I did, when I slowly leaned forward and reached for the leashy, dropped it into my hand, turned around, and walked to the door. I didn't brush my hair. I didn't even put on proper pants. Just sweatpants, old sneakers, and whatever hoodie was closest. I looked like hell, to be honest. But somehow I didn't care. Or maybe I cared just enough to let it go. Leo waited patiently while I fumbled with the leash. His tail wagged once. That slow, deliberate wag he does when something is important, and we stepped outside. It wasn't a dramatic sunrise or anything. It was gray, cold, windy. The kind of morning that bites your skin and makes your eyes water. But even so, it felt like breathing for the first time in forever. Leo led the way, sniffing the grass like it mattered more than anything in the world. I envied that, honestly. His ability to care so deeply about things I'd long stopped noticing. The texture of wet leaves, the crackle of gravel under paws, distant sound of a bird. He wasn't just walking, he was present. And maybe in some unconscious way he was trying to pull me back into the present too. There's a term animal behaviorists use, social referencing. It means dogs often look to their humans to interpret new situations, especially if something seems uncertain or confusing. But in this case, it was reversed. I was looking at Leo to figure out how to exist again, how to be curious, how to move through a world I'd emotionally checked out of. We didn't go far, just around the block. But every step I took beside him felt like it mattered. I wasn't thinking about my job, or the bills I hadn't paid, or the therapy appointments I kept skipping. I wasn't thinking about anything, really, except the way Leo would pause every few steps, look up at me, and then keep going, like he was saying, "Come on, just a little more. You're doing great." When we got back to the apartment, something strange happened. I didn't go straight back to bed. I didn't close the blinds. I left the door to the balcony open and sat there for a while, watching Leo drink water from his bowl like it was the best thing that had ever happened to him. There was something sacred about the way he did ordinary things. No shame, no hesitation, no guilt, just living. I pulled out my phone, not to scroll. I opened the calendar app, and I rebooked the therapy session I had missed. The act itself felt fragile, like it might shatter if I thought about it too hard. But it was a seed, and Leo had planted it. That night I fed him a little extra. He curled up beside me on the couch, and I said it out loud for the first time in weeks. "Thank you." He didn't react, didn't move. But I swear to you he heard me. Healing doesn't move in a straight line. I learned that the hard way. One good day doesn't erase weeks of darkness. It just reminds you that light exists. 3 days after that walk with Leo, I had what people like to call a setback. I call it the bad night. It started small. I came home from therapy feeling exhausted. Not in a sleepy way, in a hollow, scraped-out kind of way. Like someone had opened up my chest during the session and then forgot to close it again. I tried to distract myself, put on a movie, ordered takeout I didn't touch, scrolled endlessly. But every video, every post, every smile on someone else's face felt like a punch to the gut. And that old familiar voice, the one I thought I'd muted, started whispering again. "You're a burden. You're faking progress. Nobody really needs you." I could feel the spiral starting again. It was late, after midnight. Leo was asleep near the door, curled up into a tight circle like a comma in the sentence of my life. I didn't want to wake him. I didn't want to be saved. Not again. So I got up, walked into the bathroom, closed the door. Didn't do anything. I just stared at myself in the mirror, not recognizing the person looking back. I saw someone weak, someone tired, someone ready to disappear. And that's when it happened. A sound. Soft at first, then louder, scratching at the bathroom door. Then a low whine. That quiet, urgent kind of cry dogs make when they know something is very wrong. Leo, I didn't move. I didn't say anything. But the sound of his paws hitting the door, then pacing, then sitting, then whining again cut through me, sharper than anything else could. And then he did something he'd never done before. He barked once. Loud, commanding. Leo never barked indoors. Never. It was almost like a rule he made up for himself. But that night, he broke it. Because something in me must have changed my scent, my body language, my heart rate. Something I didn't even notice he did. You see, dogs can detect changes in cortisol levels. They can smell fear, stress, even depression. It's not magic. It's biology. And Leo smelled danger. Not in the world. Ain't in me. I opened the door. He was sitting right there, eyes wide, panting. Not out of exhaustion, but panic. His tail wasn't wagging. His ears were low. His entire body was tense. He pushed his head against my leg, hard, like he was trying to knock me out of whatever darkness I had let in. And when I dropped to the floor knees, buckling from the sheer emotional weight, he climbed into my lap. Uninvited, ungraceful, heavy, and refused to move. I cried into his fur that night, again, but this time, it was different. Because in that moment, I realized something terrifyingly beautiful. Leo wasn't just reacting to my sadness, he was fighting it. Like it was an enemy he could see even when I couldn't. Like he was physically trying to block it from swallowing me whole. It's called alert behavior in canine science. Some dogs, especially highly attuned ones, will adopt proactive roles when their owners are in distress. They don't just comfort, they intervene. And that's exactly what Leo did. He intervened. He stayed on me, full body, until I stopped shaking, till my breathing slowed, till I whispered the words I didn't even realize I needed to say. I don't want to go. Not yet. And he licked my cheek. Once. Slowly. I slept on the bathroom floor that night, with him curled against me like a wall between me and the dark. In the morning, he was still there, his eyes open, watching me. I woke up on the bathroom floor with Leo's body pressed tightly against mine. His fur was warm, his breathing calm. The tiles beneath me were cold, but I didn't care. That night changed everything, not in a dramatic, movie-like way, but in a quiet, irreversible one. Something inside me had shifted. I didn't feel better, not exactly, but I felt anchored. Like I had drifted too far and Leo had thrown me a line. For the first time in months, I took it. Later that morning, while Leo ate his breakfast, I sat on the floor beside him and just watched him. The way his tail moved with every crunch. How he'd pause between bites and look at me like he was checking to make sure I was still there, and I was. That's when I opened my laptop. I didn't check email or news or social media. I typed into Google, "Can dogs sense when you're suicidal?" I wasn't ready to say it out loud yet, but I needed to know if what had happened the night before was real or if I was just imagining things. And what I found stunned me. Study after study confirmed what I felt in my bones. Dogs can sense emotional and physiological changes in humans. Not just sadness, not just fear, but the deeper, darker shifts when your body chemistry changes under the weight of hopelessness. Some dogs, especially those bonded tightly with their owners, can detect subtle shifts in scent, posture, even facial tension. They're not just reacting emotionally, they're tracking patterns, protecting, intervening. There was a name for it, emotional support animal behavior. Leo wasn't trained. He didn't have a vest or a certificate. But in every way that mattered, he was my support system. That same day, I called my therapist. I didn't ask for a reschedule. I confirmed my next session. No more flaking. And then something unexpected happened. While scrolling through forums for people who'd been through similar experiences, I found a thread titled, "The Day My Dog Saved My Life." Dozens of posts. Different people, different dogs. But the same story. A bad day. A dark thought. A dog that wouldn't let them fall. I read for hours, smiled, cried, and I realized I wasn't alone. Neither was Leo. There were others like him. Quiet heroes with fur and paws, dogs who stayed, who barked, who stared into the void on our behalf and barked it away. That night I made a decision. I was going to train Leo, not because he wasn't already perfect, but because he deserved to understand what he was doing, and I wanted to learn how to listen better. I signed us up for a local emotional support dog workshop. It wasn't fancy. It didn't come with shiny certificates. But it was real, gentle, kind. Leo loved it. He thrived in that space. He learned how to respond to emotional shifts with intention. And I learned how to breathe again. But more than anything, I learned how to talk. To him, to people, to myself. Sometimes healing doesn't come in the form of advice, or medication, or even therapy. Sometimes it comes with a wet nose and muddy paws, and a tail that thumps against the wall when you finally stand up. It's been 8 months since that night on the bathroom floor. Leo's fur is a little shaggier now. He's filled out a bit too, probably from all the extra treats I've been sneaking him. But his eyes, they're exactly the same. Still watching me, still reading the room before I even walk into it. This morning we went for a walk, nothing unusual. Just the long loop through the park, past the pond, then back through the quiet side street where he likes to sniff every mailbox like it holds ancient secrets. The difference today? I was the one who picked up the leash. He looked surprised at first, tail twitching like he wasn't sure if I meant it.
Oh.
But then I smiled, a real one, and he lit up. We walked slowly. Not because I was weak anymore, but because I wanted to feel every step. Hear the gravel, smell the air. Watch him trot beside me with that proud little bounce in his step. People passed us. Some smiled. One woman asked what breed he was. I told her, he's a lifesaver. She laughed. Thought I was joking. But I wasn't, because Leo did more than keep me alive. He reminded me how to live. When we got home, I sat down at my desk. You sat at my desk again. Open this document. I wasn't sure if I'd share it. Wasn't sure if anyone would care. But then I thought about all those other stories I read. The ones that made me feel less alone. So maybe this is for someone else now. Maybe you. Maybe you're watching this, and you feel like you've hit that low place. That quiet place where you disappear inside yourself, and nobody seems to notice. But someone might. Someone with fur, with paws, with ears that twitch when you shift in your chair. Someone who watches your every breath like it's a weather report. If you're lucky enough to have a dog like that, hug them today. If you're not sure they know how much they matter, trust me. They do. I don't know what's next for me. I still have bad days. But now, when they come, I don't face them alone. I have Leo, and I made him a promise. One I whisper to him every night, just before we fall asleep. You saved me, I won't forget. I'm staying.